Jacksonville Jaguars back in 2022, they had first pick in the draft for the second straight year. It was Travon Walker. It was Aiden Hutchinson. It was Travon Walker. It was Aiden Hutchinson. And Hutchinson surely secretly wishing and hoping and praying that they wouldn't take him so he could play for his hometown Detroit Lions, and that's how it worked out. Travon Walker, his contract was picked up, 5th year, and the deadline for doing it is early May. We'll be hearing more and more about 2022 first-round picks, Devin, who have had their 5th-year option picked up. He had 10.5 sacks, 13 tackles for loss, 15 quarterback hits, 2 forced fumbles in 2024. So, hey, if I'm Travon Walker, I'm saying let's not talk about picking up my option. Let's talk about extending my contract. And that window opens after 3 years. And some teams will get it done with a first-round pick who has proven he deserves it after 3 years, and some will try to drag their feet through that 4th year, because if you can get that guy to play under the 4th year of his first-round slotted rookie contract, you are getting high-end performance at not much money. That happened with the Vikings and Justin Jefferson, the Bengals and Jamar Chase, the Cowboys and Micah Parsons, and you never pay in hindsight for that 4th year. It's all about going forward. That's one of the sneaky, huge benefits of making your way through that 4th year. You get that 4th year at a hell of a bargain because you're paying the guy peanuts in comparison to the performance you're getting.
In your opinion, does that negate the fact that, like for Jamar Chase, so you got peanuts last year, but now you have to pay all the top dollar going forward? Is it better if you know that you really want this guy to pay now and save later, or is the savings that you're getting in that year worth waiting and letting him play another year out?
I've never run the numbers. This is all just kind of visceral because the numbers are so small as to what the guys get in year 4. I think that the teams would prefer to find a way to pull it off and delay the payday. Because, yes, it's going to go up. It's going to go up the next year. But what you save in getting that 4th year for $3 million, $4 million. I mean, Micah Parsons played for $3 million last year. He never should have set foot on the field for $3 million last year. Remember the Kyler Murray? You were still playing at the time, but his agent had this long-ass single-spaced, you needed a magnifying glass to read it, manifesto about the Cardinals. They drew line in the sand and got him a contract after 3 years. And the prevailing notion after the 2021 season was there's no way that Kyler Murray is playing for what he was due to make that year. It's the same idea. It was a small 4th-year salary under the current first-year or first-round draft pick formula. And the problem is you don't have – Jamar Chase tried, but what are you ultimately going to do, not play? Mm-hmm. At some point, you just have to give in to the fact that the system is rigged against you, and if they're not going to give you that contract after 3 years – you got to show up and play.
Yeah, and to Walker's credit, I think, especially we're about to talk about these two guys, because of his first year where he had only 3.5 sacks, right away everybody was writing about it. Everyone was talking about how the Jags blew it. They got the wrong guy. Aiden Hutchinson's dominating. But now you look and you're like, oh, no. Travon Walker, not just last year, he's just built year after year, getting better. And when you compare these two guys, and I know Aiden Hutchinson's numbers would be better, but he got hurt last year, but that's a part of the game. If Travon Walker wasn't playing in Jacksonville where they just haven't been in the big-time games, we would be talking very differently about this guy because he's right there, 24 career sacks to Aiden Hutchinson's 28.5. 162 tackles for Walker, 120-something tackles for Aiden Hutchinson. So the guy's been a beast. And I think it goes to what you just said. These young guys, they're playing well. They're earning new contracts. But for teams, you should, from a business standpoint, draw a line in the sand and not just pay these guys if that's what makes sense when you run the numbers and you do everything because of the savings. I think from the outside looking in, everybody looks and like they look at Jamar Chase's contract and they're just like, you could have paid him and you would have saved. But until some of us are in that front office and you're actually running the numbers and you're looking at what you're saving, and you're getting another year to look to see what that guy does, like an Aiden Hutchinson who's going to come off an injury this year for Detroit. Do they want to see how he comes off the injury? Like, all of those things play a role when you do get another year to see a guy, because you don't know what's going to happen in that year. And that's why I do think each player should test the front office and see if you played highly and you competed and you've been elite like a Micah Parsons and like an Aiden Hutchinson. You should definitely go up there and try to call their bluff and say, hey, I'm not stepping foot on the field. I do want a new contract, because you don't know what can happen. It's not a guarantee they're going to do it, but I do think you should try to see what you can do to get a new contract, because you hate to see if anybody gets hurt or they don't have the year that they thought they were going to have because of some other reason, and then you don't get the payday that you've kind of earned through the first 3 years of your contract, of your NFL career.
And the reality is some teams have done it. The Cardinals gave in with Kyler Murray. The Texans just did it with Derek Stingley Jr. after his third NFL season. The Broncos did it last year with Patrick Surtain right before the start of the season, made him the highest paid cornerback as of then in the NFL with only 3 seasons in, gave up that fourth year, low salary, and replaced it with a massive contract. Here's the thing. And you and I have talked about this before, a lot of players only care about APY, and I won't get into the numbers, but this is the reality. If you've got a low fourth-year salary, it's a lot easier to write up a contract that pumps up the new money APY, if that's what you care about. If you care about new money APY, you can get an artificially higher APY on the new money when you're taking a contract that's only paying $3 or $4 million this year. I say only like it's not a lot of money, but relative to the numbers we're talking about and what the owners make it isn't that much money. But you can do a contract with a higher APY if you swoop in and get it done. And some teams do, some teams don't. That's going to be the challenge for the Jaguars. And the thing about Travon Walker, the year that they were good, he wasn't. The 2 years they've stunk, he's been good. And it's so weird how a narrative on a guy gets set, but the year that they were a more prominent team, it was kind of like, it's taking him a little while to get going. And then he got going, and nobody's paying attention to the Jaguars anymore.
And it's funny because it was like, it's unfortunate that the year they were good, he was a rookie. He's trying to figure things out. And that's what blows my mind sometimes in these situations, because I get it. When you take a guy higher, you want him to have an impact right away. But the truth of the matter, as an NFL player, you would much rather build your career year after year getting better then come out and your first 3 years be amazing, and then you dip off a little bit, because then when it's time to get paid, everyone's going to only focus on the years you started dipping. So for Travon Walker to come in and the bar's not set high because you get 3.5 sacks or whatever he gets, and then you take off and you have double digits every single year after. And when you actually think about it, when you're playing on a bad team, you're usually not playing with a lead a lot of the time. So it's not like you're playing in these games where you have these leads and now you just get to rush because you're playing from ahead. Usually if you're not winning a lot of games, you're usually trailing. So teams are running the ball, they're controlling it, they're double teaming the 2 pass rushers and him and Josh Allen. So for him to have this kind of success and play well on a bad team, when you're a player, a lot of people know guys who play on bad teams that are playing well, that's a lot harder to do than when you're on a good team. It's why in free agency every time, I try to always make sure I was going back to New England or going to a good team, because it's a lot easier to play well when there's a lot of other good players around you. The scheme fits you. So for Walker to be doing this, I think it's a lot of credit to him and what he's been able to do in his time in Jacksonville.
The other challenge, too, when you're a defensive player that gets taken first overall, I remember this when Mario Williams went first overall. The Texans surprised everyone. They pivoted away from Reggie Bush. They weren't going to take Vince Young, but those are 2 offensive guys that are going to have numbers. You take a pass rusher, it's going to take a lot of numbers to justify that pick. And 3.5 sacks, rookie year. And, of course, that doesn't show how many times he got close. There's a more nuanced view of what kind of impact he had on the defense, but we just look at the bottom line sacks. 3.5, that's not good enough. That's one of the challenges of being the first overall pick as a pass rusher. If you don't get a lot of sacks right away, you're going to be perceived as not being worthy of that draft status that you had. But, yeah, he's there now. They've picked up the 5th-year option. We'll see whether they're one of the teams that gives their guy after 3 years the long-term contract like they did with Trevor Lawrence. They're one of the ones who paid Trevor Lawrence. And, big APY, but when you look at the contract, it's not really a whole lot of money relative to the APY because they got him with 2 years left on his rookie contract and that low fourth-year salary. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.